Let's go to film school today. Film study professor Joe Fortunato on board with us. Joe today is going to go back and look at really an iconic film that was introduced with some controversy as well in 1967, and that's the original Bonnie and Clyde movie from 67. Joe, welcome to the show again, and dive into Bonnie and Clyde for us.
Yeah, Ray, Bonnie and Clyde is a very important film in Hollywood history. I'll talk about that in just a second. It was released on August 14th, 1967. So just this past week, we're celebrating its 55th anniversary, believe it or not. It was directed by Arthur Penn. It was written by David Newman and Robert Benton. And, of course, it starred Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway in the titular roles of the film. It won 2 Oscars, one for supporting actress, which went to Estelle Parsons, another for cinematography, but it was nominated for a whole bunch of them. Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, 2 supporting actors, and director, writing, costume. So it was very much a lauded film back at the time. The American Film Institute ranks it as number 42 on its greatest films of all time. But really what's important about it is it kind of helped kick off what we call the new Hollywood era of the late 60s and early 70s, which is sort of the second golden age of Hollywood after the 30s and 40s. This film, along with perhaps The Graduate and Easy Rider, most likely, broke many cinematic taboos. It was for members of the counterculture at the time, this was considered sort of a rallying cry movie. The success of this film prompted other filmmakers to be more open in presenting sex and violence in their film. And like I said, it was just very seminal in sort of introducing this new era of filmmaking in the 60s and 70s. Controversy, too, glorifying murderers, wasn't it, Joe? Yeah, I mean, these are sort of some of the first anti-heroes that really became a popular type of subject matter in this period of time, certainly in the late 60s and early 70s. And it went on to influence other films, moving forward, like The Wild Bunch, The Godfather, The Departed, Natural Born Killers. So it's really an important film in film history. The irony of it is that Warner Brothers did not believe in this film at all. In fact, they really gave it a limited sort of a B-movie type release at first, sending it to drive-ins and lesser theaters and stuff. And it was only when critics began raving about the film and young people started going to the screenings that it got better promoted and was given a wider release. In fact, it was kind of just kicked to the curb at first. But then after, like I said, these reviews and stuff started coming in, they re-released the film, which is very unusual really at any time, and certainly unusual at the time. And it became a big hit. One of their biggest hits, in fact, their second highest grossing film at Warner Brothers after My Fair Lady at the time. With us is film school professor Joe Fortunato at Film School talking about Bonnie and Clyde. So, Joe, let's go back because this film had a little bit of everything from a love story to car chases to murderers to the police to even some humor inside this movie. Talk about the casting and the plot. Yeah, well, it's, I say, loosely based on the true story of real people, Bonnie and Clyde, because if you really kind of do some of the fact-checking, they took some liberty with dramatic license. But, again, it's sort of the spirit of these counterculture figures that went along robbing banks. In fact, that line in the movie, "We Rob Banks," was voted the number 41 movie quote by the American Film Institute. One thing, before we get into casting, Warren Beatty was actually the producer of this film, so he wasn't originally going to, play Clyde himself. He was just going to produce the film. In fact, Warner Brothers, like I said, didn't believe in the film, so they actually gave him 40% of the gross and a minimal fee. The movie went on to make $70 million, so Warren Beatty really made out financially very well. Some of the casting that you were talking about, he originally wanted his sister, Shirley MacLaine, to play Bonnie, but then once he decided to play Clyde himself, that wasn't really going to work out. His first choice for the role of Clyde was, believe it or not, Bob Dylan. who he thought sort of actually resembled Clyde Barrow more than he did himself. And this is the film, you mentioned humor. This is the film debut of Gene Wilder. Jack Nicholson was considered for the role of C.W. Moss, but they thought he was sort of too similar to Warren Beatty, and they didn't cast him. Cher auditioned for the role of Bonnie, but then when her husband, Sonny Bono, heard about the audition, he got furious at Warren Beatty for letting his wife audition for such a controversial film. So she was out. Jane Fonda confessed that she had auditioned for Bonnie, but she lost it out to Faye Dunaway. So, there's a lot of other names involved. Were Aunt Margaret, Tuesday Weld, Natalie Wood. So there's really a whole host of people that, especially for the role of Bonnie, that were up for the role.
This film also got a young Gene Hackman's career rolling. I thought he was really good as Buck.
Yeah, and then, like I said, he got an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. The role of C.W. Moss was played by Michael J. Pollard, and sort of a fun fact, actor Michael J. Fox adopted the J in his name, because people sometimes ask that, as an homage to the actor Michael J. Pollard.
Well done. The movie Bonnie and Clyde, 1967, and as Joe mentioned, $2.5 million budget, brought in $70 million. It's certainly one of our classics. Film School today, Bonnie and Clyde, with Film School professor Joe Fortunato. Joe, as always, thanks for the visit, my friend. We'll reconvene next Friday morning.
Thanks, Ray. See you then.
You got it. Joe Fortunato with us, Film School professor with us, 93.5, 1590 WAKR.